Let me know if it's not, and I'll reconnect the wires. I think that it's just a matter of the interface with the live feeds versus the interface with the recorded videos, because I don't have any problems with wiring and things like that. So, well, wait till we get a couple people here, but we're going to talk about blade shapes. And the reason we're doing a live feed today is because, well, a couple reasons. I cannot seem to get the video that was supposed to go up. Let me relocate this microphone. Keep getting an error. So I'm going to get that figured out. But right now, it's too hot. I got too many other things that I was going to do today. So let me see here. Chat filter, all messages. Oh, Bladed Ginger's here. Hey, what's up, buddy? I let somebody borrow your Geo, and they are loving it. So it is currently out to be tested. And if the guy likes it, because I don't carry it, if the guy doesn't like it, I'm just going to give it to him. Not that I don't like your knife. I just don't carry it. And if it can find a place to work, like if he can find a place to use it in his day to day, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. So I love it, and if he seems to like it, and if he finds it useful in his day to day, I'm just going to tell him to keep it. It's a really good knife. I do like it, but I just don't carry it. So what is this? Pizza Lover Forever. Go check out the video I did of the worst knives I own. It's a picture of me pointing up twice, and it says these knives are hot trash, and it's a picture of a dumpster on fire. I talk about a ceramic knife in that. That should tell you how I feel about it. They have their place, I'm sure of it. So, but how's the audio? Is the audio good? Are you picking this up, or are you picking up that microphone that's going to be really echoey and distant? I'm just curious, because the front-facing microphone on my phone does not work. That's why we were having so many audio issues when I would talk in live feeds without the microphones. So, but yeah, I had a video that was going to go up today, and when I tried to load it, it won't work. Like it just says it's pinwheeling, and it's processing, and it just doesn't work. So it's currently over 100 degrees in the studio. That's where my laptop and everything is for editing and all that. And I'm not spending any more time out there. And I don't want to bring it in here and have to bring that whole thing and sit here. So I just grabbed a bunch of knives so we could talk about blade shapes. And I know that everybody's going to say that, oh, well, this would be a long conversation because there's a ton of blade shapes. But there really isn't. And that's the misconception. You can pretty much group all blade shapes into just a handful of blade shapes. And then you have variations. People are, what about recurves? What about this? And I'll talk about that. But there's a big difference between blade shape and blade grind. So we're going to talk about that. If you guys do want to support the channel, I'm going to tell you, you can drop a super chat. You can drop all that stuff if you want to do that. But I would just really prefer if you just dropped a like. And then follow my affiliate links and stuff down below. I've tagged products in this one too, some EDC stuff, but like that's beside the point. I am going to add a what was it, buy me a coffee link to stuff like that. Got stream open in the background. Oh, you're stocking a knife out for delivery. I have something out for delivery, but it's not a knife. Jared is sending me a bunch of stuff as soon as he gets back and isn't so busy. But at any rate, like I said, there's really not a lot of blade shapes that are out there. It may seem like it because you see a bunch of different, but I've got a bunch here, and we're just going to talk about them quick because it's really easy to drop it down. And then we'll get into like the little factors and things like that. So there's variations on different, and I mean, I guarantee I'm gonna miss a couple. So we're gonna crack into it. We'll talk about my favorite one first. My favorite knife shape, my favorite blade shape, the Wharncliffe. And I liked it so much that my production knife is a Wharncliffe. And so a Wharncliffe and a sheepfoot very, very similar. Straight cutting edge, rounded back, This is a very thin-tipped Wharncliffe. This is my knife. This is my. Is one of the production prototypes from the first run. Oh, before the first run. This was the sample that they sent me to see if I liked it. But a Wharncliffe's really versatile. Now, it doesn't work for everything, but a Wharncliffe is really good because it's so straight. And it has this piercing tip. And they come in so handy so many times. This allows you to cut all the way to the tip without dropping off. And let me explain that with a knife that has a more pronounced belly like this one. So when you have a knife like this, you've got straight here. And so you're applying pressure and you're cutting. You have a lot of cutting force and potential on that straight. And then when you get to this rounded part, it kind of slips off, especially if you're cutting rope or line or something like that. Some of the guys that I've seen cut themselves bad, it's been because they were using one of these to pull cut line and rope. So you can get on it and then it slips off. And I've seen guys cut themselves because they get their thumb up over it and they're like, God, a drop point or a knife with a lot of belly like this doesn't do as well for certain things. You can have the same amount of cutting all the way to the tip on this. Another nice thing about a Wharncliffe, if you're wanting to cut something, like say you've got something you don't want to cut what's underneath it, you can get in between the two materials and get that tip in there and then cut up. Like say if you're trying to open a package, like those bubble wrap packages, and you need to, not bubble wrap, but the shrink, you know what I'm talking about. Those hard clamshell, the crystal plastic ones. You can get in on this and you can go along and you don't run the risk of cutting anything else underneath it. They work really well. It's box cutters, just like Ian Coates said. These are great blade shapes. So you got Wharncliffes, right? We're gonna get into some variations of that. And then it has a very close, because Ian Coates says Warnie's a good box cutter. I think I already read that. Then you have its cousin, really similar, which is a sheepfoot, like this. Also very straight, not as pronounced a tip, much less likely to pierce something. These are really good if you're just wanting to cut things. You don't care about like piercing into things and cutting. They're great for a lot of purposes. On the farm, my grandfather always had one of these because it was really good. You wouldn't want a piercing tip because you don't want to poke into thing, but if we had a horse that had went lame or a cow that went lame, he could kind of trim the hoof, open up an abscess with this until we could get a hoof trimmer in, because you take care of some stuff on your own, but he would use a knife really similar to this, a sheepfoot Barlow, to try and kind of trim that hoof. And you can use a Warnie really well for that. This is another really, really good Wharncliffe, but you can see they're very similar. These are both Rosecrafts. These are both Rosecrafts. This is a sheepfoot. This is a Wharncliffe. They work really well for things like that on a farm. This one I think would be great because of the way it's shaped. If you're wanting to help like trim a hoof a little, you could grab a hold of this and just kind of get on it and clean up that hoof and pull and remove some material. These are awesome knives. Wharncliffe is my favorite. It's really functional. Some people are like, oh, they're not that great for certain things because they're not great for self-defense and this and that. I disagree. I think they're great for it. As a matter of fact, Bob Lovelace, I believe, made some. I'm trying to adjust this. He made some combat knives that were Wharncliffe. And his protege as well. There's a guy that's on here that every once in a while we'll see him. He does as well make combat knives that were on the Loveless style, but they're Wharncliffes. Don, what's the realest shit I've ever heard? I don't know, but I do know that the realest shit I know about dogs is that they're really good at not stepping in their own shit. And I am not, because we've put the dog out a few times in the yard and he'll walk around the yard and never want to step in it. And I'll go out there and it doesn't matter if there's one or two out there and I'll step in whatever he's left every time without fail. So we've got Wharncliffe's sheep's foot out of the way. And then we're going to get into some of the more... Oh, here's another one. These Cleaver blades. So these Cleaver style blades, these are basically just broad Wharncliffes. They call them Cleavers. This is basically a really broad, modified Wharncliffe, maybe a sheep's foot if you look at the angle of the tip. This is a really good one. It's just a really broad blade. This is a great, great knife. This is a great knife. This is the video that was going to go up today, was the video about this knife. This is the Ironfly YOLO. And I had never even heard of this company. Apparently, they're a division of Kunwu. Hang on a second. I got to take this toy from the dog because all he's doing is eating the little nubs off of it. You can't have this. You can't have this. This isn't a toy for you anymore. That was a teething toy, and now you're just eating it. So we had gotten him a teething ring, the doggy teething ring with all the nubs on it. Now he doesn't play with it. He just chews. He eats the little nubs, and then you find him in his droppings, in his scat. So yeah, these are really good. Well, Bladed Ginger, we're going to talk about hawkbill and talon blades in a little bit because they're technically, in my opinion, they're not their own category. They're not their own blade shape. They fall into a different. They fall into a category that we're currently talking about. So Wharncliffe, sheep's foot, really, really similar. They're great. They're some of the most useful blades you're going to find. Guys, if you could, please just drop a like on this video. Then we're going to get into one that's a little bit more obscure. You don't see them as much these days. Really popular in Asian culture, especially Philippines. There was a lot of these. This is a modified version of it. And it's the leaf style blade. Ray Laconico's made a bunch of them. There's a lot of the butterfly knives that have this leaf style blade like this. And it's kind of like that. It kind of just goes both directions with a radius. This one's really pronounced. The radius on the back is a lot more, but it's very similar to a Wharncliffe, but it does not have the straight, but they're definitely a different grind. When you look at them on some other knives, it's not as pronounced of a drop on the spine. They basically come down. They almost look like a dagger, but they just look like a leaf. Really great. They kind of bridge that gap between a Wharncliffe and a drop point or clip point because you've got this radius blade. Now, the nice thing about these are they don't have that really hard termination of straight and then drop. They're radiused all the way around. Like from here to here. It's a constant gentle radius all the way up. This is the mini Nightshade from Vosteed Knives. And it's great. And with it having that cant to it, it just lines itself up in a cut. These are really good blade shapes. I like leaf style blades, and I don't know why I don't own more of them. I only have this one. This is the only one that's mine. I guess you could kind of say this is almost a leaf style blade. No, it's not. This is a drop point. Wrong knife. Sorry, disregard what I just said. I had it in my head. I had a different knife in my head, and I grabbed this one. I don't have the knife that I was thinking about. The second I opened it, I'm like, you're a dummy. That's a drop point. So it's definitely, now I feel stupid. I mean, it's not a new feeling for me. You've seen how smart my daughter is. I feel like that at home. Oh, by the way, yesterday, guys, I don't know if you saw the short. I spent the day with my daughter at the university, at the campus. We walked around. We saw a friend of mine that works there as a professor. We had a really good time. We walked around the entire campus. Zero Bytes 2000. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I'm kind of conflicted on that. GGGTX, is Stanley knife any good? No. If it's like Stanley knife and if it's Stanley tools, like no. Like black and yellow Stanley, no. Just, they're trash. Buy a good knife. You can get a good knife for a decent price. I think this is $60 for this knife, and it's going to do whatever you want. It's good steel, 14C28N. So, guys, I'm sorry. I do answer questions. So if you guys drop comments, if I see a comment, I'll answer, or at least try to answer. Sometimes I miss some of them, but please drop a like. So then that kind of leads us, because we're talking about, well, actually, yeah, we'll talk about this one next. So, Mora. Don't buy a Gerber. Gerber knives are trash these days. They used to be. This is a Tanto, but this is an Americanized Tanto. This is a Japanese Tanto. They're similar. They really are similar. They have a lot of similarities. You can see, especially at the point. Can you guys see that really clearly? I don't know how well you're going to see it. See how there's no tapering on this, same as this. The blade doesn't taper at all. Really stuff. These are very good for certain things. These are excellent for piercing because they have a very, very strong tip. And as a matter of fact, I have another knife that kind of shows how they accomplish this much more pronounced. Tantos are really good for piercing. They're absolutely great for piercing. They work really well for that, like a very, very strong tip because there's no distal taper. And so as having been a knife maker, if you don't know what a distal taper is how the blade tapers. Do I have one that shows? Yeah, right here. So this knife tapers from, it starts from here all the way down to the tip. It thins the entire material of the blade. Tantos don't have that. They do have a taper, but it's where these grinds meet. Now on this one, it's two separate grinds. You can see here. You can see two distinct grinds. So you have a lot of flat. And I will say, these can be very useful if you want something like this overall. I don't hate them. They're one of my least favorite blade shapes because for me, I don't find them to be that functional. But if you want a lot of, you basically get some of the same benefits of a Wharncliffe with an addition to it being not the same as a Wharncliffe. But the problem you have with it is this point here on Americanized Tanto, that's going to receive a ton of force. It's like cutting on the very tip, which if you know anything, using the very tip of your knife to cut, that's the part that's going to get dull the fastest. On a Tanto, that's what's going to get dull the fastest, is right there. Because it basically, it's a very thin area. It's the thinnest area of that blade, technically, because there's grinds, the grinds meet together. So it's the weakest, and it's going to be the part that winds up absorbing the most force, and it's going to get dull the fastest. And they can be problematic to sharpen if you don't know how to do it. I've done a lot of Tantos. So is this the Recon? No, this is the Voyager. This is the Voyager by Cold Steel. This is a really good one. I didn't like this knife at first for a couple reasons. It took me a while to get used to the grip. It just didn't feel the way I thought it should. And it's because I had several other knives that didn't quite have this hook. I have several knives that have this style of you're deep in, and now it doesn't feel as odd. It was like that if you own firearms. So you go to the range and you're practicing with a firearm, and you get used to, say you take your 1911 to the range a few times, and then you dig out, like you bring your other pistol, you're like maybe your SIG or something, and it feels different in your hand. It just feels awkward for a little bit. But I do have another version of the Tanto that more accurately shows how, like we were talking about this one. Now this one's an actual, no joke, folded steel Japanese Tanto. This was my mother-in-law's at her wedding. It was my wife's. It's now in our family, and it's just a beautiful showing of an antique. Like my mother-in-law's, my wife's grandmother had this for my mother-in-law's wedding. At any rate, but you can see how the Japanese Tanto, it still has this curved edge, but then, like I said, no real taper to this blade except at the very tip. And it's because this is like completely radiused and polished. So it's hard to say. I gotta clean that now that I touched it. This is basically how they accomplish it. So this has a flat grind and then a forward bevel, or a secondary, your sharpening bevel. So when they did this, this knife is the same thickness all the way down until the very tip. See that? They accomplished that by doing the edge grind all the way up to here and then just following that through and removing that material. Incredibly strong tip, still very sharp. It doesn't lose any cutting ability, but it gives you incredibly strong tip. M-Tech, M1, don't buy an M-Tech. They're garbage. M-Tech is probably, if I had to pick a company that if I got there, if everybody was like, you get to pick one knife company, and if you pick that company doesn't exist anymore. Like they're gone. Like they can't ever be in the knife industry again. It would be M-Tech. They're that bad. They are that bad. They're horrible. They don't do good heat treat. Their knives are shitty. They're too heavy. You take it apart to clean it. You can't ever get it back together right now. It's just, they're trash. But that's how a Tanto works. It's basically the same thing, except on that, it's a full convex, and you can't see the lines of the grind. On this, you can clearly see it. So that's how it gets accomplished. All that material gets removed at the very tip. It thins behind the edge, but then you've got that super, super strong. To see how thick that tip is on that? It looks like it thickens, but it doesn't. It stays the same thickness the whole length of the blade, which makes this a very, very good knife for a lot of purposes. Like a ton. My daughter's texting me. I don't know why I told her to leave me be. So I actually, you may lose me for a second. I do need to do something. There we go. Sorry, I had to do that. It doesn't matter. Stand bash. There's companies you should avoid. Companies you should avoid. We'll talk about that at the end. Do me a favor, Greg. Stick around till the end, and I'll give you recommendations for companies I trust versus companies that I can't stand, and companies that are going to charge you too much. Companies are going to give you a really good product for the end. So just remind me when we get further along after we get through the knife shapes. So that's the Tanto. The Tanto and the Americanized Tanto. And you know, we talked about this is a cleaver, but this is technically a modified sheep's foot, as you can see. Where's the other one that I had that I was using as an example? My iron fly. Here's the iron fly. I would say this one more is akin to a Wharncliffe because it's got the more aggressive tip. So buck knives are great. Please save it to the end. We're talking about blade shapes. I will answer your questions, but if you can save it till I get through the blade shape part. So then you get into the other blade shapes that are the more mainstream. They're really the ones that people gravitate to. Drop points. So this is a drop point. It's got a long drop on this. So it's a drop point, which comes all the way down. And basically a drop point is this from the origin of the grind on this full flat grind. They basically drop this tip down and it lines up. This is a great blade shape. Drop point is hands down probably the most popular blade shape around. And if I had to pick something, if I couldn't have a Wharncliffe, it'd probably be a drop point. Hey, what's up, Ground Fog? If I had to pick one, it would probably be like if I just didn't have a Wharncliffe, I would probably gravitate to my drop point. Nice thing about drop points, they usually thin out really nice. Most of them have got a good flat grind. This has a full flat grind, nice and thin behind the edge. It reduces weight in the blade because you've removed the material as opposed to that edge being straight and then coming up, swept way up. With a lot of belly at the tip, you've removed material. Here, full flat grinds are lighter. So this is great. So this is a great blade shape. Drop points are incredible. They are probably one of the most popular blade shapes in the knife industry. Sometimes they don't drop as dramatically as that last one, but this is a drop point. So it drops down from the spine. It drops down to the point. Trying to find another one here. I have tons of drop points. Here's another drop point. Here's a really, really good one. You can see from about here down, it starts to drop This is the carbon fiber and hey, what's up, Lone Star Tallboy? He's currently carrying Cold Steel Tiger Claw and the Civivi Conspirator. I haven't seen the Conspirator yet, but you can see gentle drop from here to the point. Gets you a different angle of approach on the point as opposed to some other knives, but you have a little bit of belly, or you have a little bit belly forward, and you got a lot of flat. This is the KATSU Knives CK01. So I don't like Medford knives. I don't like any of his designs, and I don't like Greg. I will say I don't like his designs. I don't find them to be designs that I gravitate to. I don't like them. But I will say, even though I don't like Greg personally, I personally think Greg's a piece of shit. He is probably one of the most talented machinists in the country. He really is. Like, I mean, you're not going... Personal issues with his personality and the kind of person he is aside, you're not going to find many better made knives. The Striders that he did, the best American-made Striders to ever hit the market. They're great. He does incredible work. He's just a piece of shit, in my opinion. I mean, I can justify if he had a design that I liked, I would probably seek one out. But I don't like his designs, so I can make that differentiation. Just a little offshoot. I was in the military. I retired from the military. Spent my entire adult life in the military. Greg is one of those guys that if he was in my work center, I could maintain I could respect his work and hate him as a person at the same time. You see what I'm saying? Like, look, I hate him. He's a piece of hot trash, but his work is exemplary. I can do that. Would I spend money and buy directly from Greg and support him? No, I would buy a knife from someone else. Greg would not get any of my money, but I would buy if he had a design I liked because I know the quality. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just one of those things. I just don't like it. And that's fine. I don't have to like everybody because there's a lot of people that don't like me. So here's another version of that same knife you just saw. This is a great knife. This is ZDP 189 core with all the exterior stuff on it. It was this Lone Star. I will obey my orders and perform my duties in a military manner. Second general. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it's just like, I can make that distinction between somebody that does good work and their personality sucks. But if it comes to like my money going into supporting them, it's not happening. I'll buy one on the secondary. But like I said, it's just his designs don't gravitate. And the MIDI is not bad. If I was to ever say I would buy one, it would probably be the MIDI. But there's so many other knives that are, in my opinion, better for me, better fit personally. So there's that. Oh, another version of the Tanto. Another version of the Tanto. This one has like kind of a shorter angle. And I have some other Tantos. I'm not gonna break out like literally I could have. I did a video that says I have 200 knives, but do I need them all? That was just a catchy title because I didn't want anybody to know how many knives I actually have because it's way more than 200. I've probably got closer to 6, to tell you the truth. I've got probably about 100 knives here, just so you guys see. So I brought a bunch of knives out. So this is completely full of knives. There is a ton of knives on the table, and this is almost full. Now there's 32 knives in here. There's, what do we got here? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12, 18 knives in that one, and there's probably 20 knives sitting on the table. I got close to 100 knives in here. No, I don't have a Fairbairn knife. So we talk about drop points. So drop points have a cousin. The drop points have a cousin, which is the clip point. And they're really similar. So And I'll show you what I mean. So this is a clip point. And the difference between a clip point and a drop, do I have a, is this a drop point? Did I grab this one? This one's a clip point as well. Like your Bowie style knives, that's like the big one, is this clipped area here, right? As opposed to a drop point. Now, you do have some minor differences. Let's grab a good drop point. Here's a good drop point. And then this is a drop point. Drops from here to here. I mean, technically you could say this is just a long clip, but the big difference is, let's do it here on this one. Hang on, I gotta fix this. Give me just a second. Okay, I'm back. We're gonna talk about recurve edge, stuff like that. So what you get is you got straight, you've got straight. You've got some belly at the front, you got some belly at the front, and if you got it bringing the approach angle down a little bit. So what you get on this, really, really similar. This comes up, but it sweeps back up a little further. So you wind up a little bit more belly, and your tip is further up the knife. See what I'm saying? If I hold these the same, you can see how the tip on this comes further up. So you wind up with more belly. The thing that you get with these is you'd still get some weight removal, so it's not so heavy. You get an aesthetic look on that. You can get way up on here as a hand point, right? You can get way up on this, but you have a little bit more belly. Just a little bit more, because this tip comes up about that much further up the blade as opposed to coming down and meeting the edge at a lower dropped point. So this is clipped out, which gives it a really distinct look. But if you're an outdoorsman, that gives you a multi-purpose knife. That gives you a multi-purpose knife. You got a lot of straight for an outdoor knife. That's something you want. You might want to have to do some planing. You want to be doing some cutting. You got a big surface area. If you need to baton this, you kind of can, right? And it gives you a fairly robust knife. You cut down into here, means that your tip's a little bit more robust, but you've cut back down into the material. So it's a little thicker. It doesn't have as much of a taper as if it was a flat grind that came up. So you get a little bit of benefit, but for all intents and purposes, those two blade shapes are the same until you get to the tip. You get a little bit of a swept up tip, little bit more belly. So if you needed to skin an animal out, you've got something here that you can get up on it. It's a little bit long for what I would want. I would want something more akin to this. If I was going to use it for an all-around purposes, here's a really good clip point that accurately kind of demonstrates what I'm talking about. This one's not as pronounced. Comes down straight, then it's clipped off. Belly, I can get up on this. I can use this for skinning. I can use the flat spot for doing all that stuff. It's great. Clip points are great. And they're sexy. Clip points are sexy. It gives you that outdoor style, like military look to it. Everybody loves a Bowie. This is the Buck 119 Special. It's been around for 80 plus years. The design has not really changed that much. Phenolic resin handles, aluminum butt cap, these things are great. Some people argue with me. If it's done by Medford, it's going to be a quality knife. So it's aggressive look. It's got a more aggressive point, but it does provide you with some stuff that might be handy in like an outdoors situation, right? There's a lot of military knives. I got to put this back in it. I was looking for the sheath for this. Lot of different situations where this knife would come in handy that you would want it. I don't like clones, even though I'm going to show you something that some people quote unquote say is a clone. Here's another really good clip point. It's not as clipped. It's not as clipped out. It's a much more gentle one, but it is a clip point. It starts here, it's clipped down. Mine needs to have the spine resharpened. Mine is very, very dull on the spine, but sometimes you'll get these knives that the clipped area is sharpened. but yeah, this is technically clip point. This is the military R1 classic from Cold Steel. It is a licensed replica, one-to-one pretty much replica of the R1, or I'm sorry, the Model 1 by Randall. Hence R1, Randall 1 Military Classic. So I missed a couple things here. My favorite knife to make is a Bowie. Yeah, I never got to make. I never got a chance to make one. I'm probably going to do one before too many more years when my shoulder's not hurting. Oh, Bruce, my favorite EDC is my Redemption Street drop point. I have got what he's talking about, if you're curious, so you can see it. This is what he's talking about. This is Chavez 229, which is part of the Redemption line by Chavez. It's a drop point. It drops gently, a lot of belly, deep hollow, and on a flat, so it's got two separate grinds on it. Really, really attractive. Awesome, awesome knife. Love this knife. This was a birthday present from a friend of mine. I love this thing. It doesn't get a lot of pocket time these days because I just have so many knives that come in for review and things like that. So, let's see here. I would have just bought a Kaiser. Thanks. Yeah, somebody retracted a message. I have a knife. I have that knife have to put titanium hardware on. I've been slacking since. Been slacking. 229. Oh, okay, yeah. Have you checked out the $10 Ozark? No, and I'm going to get some of that stuff. I'm laid off right now. There's no knives in the future for the channel until I go back to work. I'm currently waiting for a call to come back to work. So we talk about drop point, clip point. There's a couple others that are out there that are just minor, differences. There's some like Chris blade. I don't have a Chris, so a Chris is the one that looks like a snake. I don't find them to be terribly useful. And I mean, I guarantee that there's going to be ones that I miss. But like some people go, well, you didn't talk about a kukri. Well, a kukri is just kind of a modified, just a modified leaf style blade. As a matter of fact, it's very similar to a kukri, and it's just kind of the angle of approach and things like that. I'm trying to see here. Do I have anything? Here's another unique clip point. Here's a clip point, unique one. Really, really nice. This one's super functional. This is one of my favorite cutters. If I've got a lot of cutting to do, and I'm not testing things, it's nice and thin. It's got that beautiful clip. It's an aggressive looking knife. Very, very cool. This is one that was a gift from Winston Cobretti, one of the paying members on the channel. Guys, did I tell you I have a membership? If you want to support the channel, you could always do that. Other clip points. This is the Prado. This is a really nice clip point. I'm not a fan of the execution knife. I'm a fan of the design. CGRB Prado. My friend Ray Laconico designed this one. The design is great. Once you get it open and everything, it's everything else about it that I don't like. If you saw that, the execution I found not to be what I want, but I love the actual blade. Gonzo knives Ganzo knives, I actually like them. I just haven't had one on the channel for a while. Here's another drop point. This is more something for skinning. I meant to point this out. A lot of times drop points are great skinners because they come down if they have a lot of belly on a shorter blade. The reason I pointed this one out is if you're skinning, an animal, you want something with a lot of belly, but you also want really good control. Shorter blade's a lot better. The Pocket Monster. The Pocket Monster from Rosecraft Blades, designed by Savannah, by Savannah over there. Swags is what she goes by. That design is a great little outdoor skinner. And guys, if you're here, please drop a like. It's free. I'm not even asking you to drop a super chat or anything, unless you want to. So, there's a couple others that are out there, like I said, other designs and I'm trying to see here if I have anything else that would be representative, but I don't. But then there's another one, and like I said, I'm sure that there's ones out there I'm missing, but I'm just kind of going through this. Chris Reeve, I don't, after Hinderer went all bitch mode and tried to sue somebody for pointing out that there were flaws in his heat treat, I'm like, okay, I just can't do it anymore. So that's one of those ones, like he sued a friend of mine, and I'm like, okay, I just won't ever have one of those knives on the channel again. Another way you can support the channel, Coffee Brand Coffee. I just thought about it. Some of the best coffee you can have. This is, hang on a second. Oh, no, I'll go get it later. We'll talk about that later. So we're going to talk about like the last one that I really dug out. And like I said, I know there's more out there. There's the last one I really dug out, and I saw somebody mention it earlier. Do I hunt? I haven't hunted in a long time. So it's the Dagger. The Dagger. Now, the Dagger is not, the Dagger serves a purpose. It really does. But I don't find it to be as useful, which is why I saved it to the last. Do I love them? Yeah. Yeah. This was a Grail knife. I wanted one of these for years. It's cold steel Taipan, 7.5-inch blade, 5.5-inch handle, 13-inch hollow ground, spear point style dagger. Beautiful. Awesome, awesome handle with this nice taper. It looks Asian expired. It's great. It's got this striking pummel. Everything about this screams coolness. But they're very limited in use. This isn't something I'm carrying to go hunting. And yes, I do hunt. I haven't hunted in a while. I don't hunt deer or anything anymore. I can explain that later some other time, but I do like squirrel hunting, rabbit hunting, things like that. Messed up? No, it's got that Japanese style handle. The first one of these were wrapped. Don't start throwing jokes like that out, because that people don't take that as a joke. And in the present society, they're like, oh, he said something, now he's racist. My wife's Japanese. I lived in Japan for 13 years. I'm not racist. So yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, don't throw that out there. Like, you got to be like, these days you got to be careful with shit like that. At any rate, it's got that Japanese in style, like what you would see on a Tanto. It's like kind of that thing like you'd see in movies. These things are great. These things are awesome. They are beautifully done by Cold Steel. They're really limited, though. They're not something you're taking hunting. Now we're back to where I started, especially ones like this. This is probably the best done boot knife, modern boot knife. Probably the best one out there. Cold Steel, double-edged dagger. Not all boot knives are daggers, but this is a piercing knife. This is made for one thing. It's to let the air out of someone. It really is. This isn't something you're going to do a lot of slashing with. Now, I will say that last one, the Taipan, you can definitely slash with. It's got a much more pronounced edge that is things like that. I get it. I know. I understand. I just like, the second you throw something out, everybody's like, uh-oh, now I'm on Twitter. Like, oh, did you check out this dude? He's racist. I don't need that in my life. I got enough other shit going on. This is a very, very good boot knife. It's dagger ground, double point. It is extremely piercy, and it's got this unique, it's not unique. Let me preface this. I had somebody tell me, you didn't do your research. They had swords were shaped like that. Yeah, I get it. It's got this broad delta wing pattern. It looks like an airplane from the top. I forget which plane. Which one is that? The stealth fighter. So it's very thick across the back, and it's hollowed in here. And it does get sharp, but it's not really, really slicey, right? This is a piercing knife. It's going to open a devastating wound track. It's going to let the air out of somebody very, very quickly. It's going to be great, but it's not something you're carrying for day to day. I have a push dagger that's in the same format, but daggers really don't have a distinct purpose other than a fighting knife. They really are just a fighting knife. They're fun. They're beautiful. There is one more that I forgot. I forgot it's sitting here, and it's because I didn't see it. I'm trying to see which one is here we go. This is called a Bushido blade or sweatback. So as opposed to a drop point or a clip point, this basically sweeps out this entire center here, brings that tip up, and for slashing, see how that now lines up? you've got to slash. Like in a slash, you're slashing, not the guitarist with the funny hat. You're slashing from heel to tip all the way through. If you've taken martial arts, it's a very, very useful blade because you can use it and follow those same lines that you would for protecting yourself and add an extra additional thing to it, right? Bushido, and I took martial arts for years. I can see the purposes. I kind of forgot it was here. Bushido, it's basically swept all the way up, and you've got the tip back so that you can slash with this all the way up. Devastating, devastating blade. And the Bushido is a very good blade. Swept back. There's also like Persian style blades and things like that. With this one is radiused from here to here. And this is the EMW, or East meets West, from Yan Knives. It's a double-ended Tanto grind on this. So this is a unique one. It's technically two blade shapes in one. So you can do a grind. So Tanto can technically be a grind or a blade shape. You see what I'm saying? Because now we're going to get into the overlaps on things. So yeah, and that's a really swept. Yeah, it's a cool looking knife too. The Kubi Scimitar fixed blade. I've seen that. I haven't had one come in, but I have seen it. Really, really similar. Now there's some other ones out there that are unique, and I can't remember if it's called, what is it called, a K style blade, where it comes down and it clips down, but it's like a Benchmade started calling it a reverse Tanto on their 940, which is the shitty knife anyway. Like, it just really doesn't. I don't like that knife. Same kind of thing, but it's more like they call it's a reverse Tanto. There's no such thing as a reverse Tanto. So yeah, there you go. Kitsuke shape. Yeah. So you got those, but then you get into these weird overlaps, right? Because everybody's like, well, what about a hawkbill? That's not in there the right way. What about a hawkbill or a recurve? Well, you see this? So a recurve, hawkbill. These are talons, so you could say this is a different blade shape because it does come down. But let me show you. Very similar blade shapes. This one may come down a little further. Grind and shape are different. The grind on your knife can be a recurve. And I'll show you one that is much closer. This is what they call a karambit. But they're kind of a variation on the Wharncliffe, but what it does is it brings tip down, it opens this up, and it acts like a claw. So you could say this is a different blade shape. We'll go ahead and say it can be. I don't own any crisp blades because I don't find them to be very useful. I only own this because it was given to me by We Knife Company as a gift by one of their representatives. So the only reason that I have this one, because I really don't see this as a real, I don't see this as functional as the next one I'm going to show you. So what's my favorite blade shape? Wharncliffe. We talked about that. It was the first one we looked at. Folding karambits are great. This thing is cool. This is waveable, as Lone Star is saying right now. So this one's a good one. This is probably the best karambit that ever hit the market. This is the Incisor by We Knife Company. And I mean, if you're into karambits, this is probably the best one out there. I do like this knife. Don't get me wrong. I don't like the Emerson Super Karambit and things like that. But this is a curved, this has a recurve to it. This is the same kind of style blade as that, right? You see the same overall thing. Not as radius, not as radical, but this is just a Wharncliffe with a recurve grind. Now this is a Pikal, which the reason I was telling you I don't like karambits is because I got to go this way, and I find that to be an unusual motion. It's not as thoughtless. I can use that to defend myself, absolutely. I can pull this out of my pocket because it comes out of the pocket just like this. It's got a wave feature just like that. It snaps out of your pocket this way. You pull up on it, snaps into this grip here, which is a much more natural style grip. Much more radius blade. I love this. I love this, and I like a Pikal way better than I like a karambit. Mainly because this is much less, it's much more intuitive. You can use this a lot easier than you can use a karambit. A karambit requires a lot more training than this. I like them both. Don't get me wrong. I find them to be unique and cool. Speaking of unique and cool, another really good drop point blade on this knife. This, like, if this was in a fixed blade, I would buy it every day and twice on Sunday. I love this gravity knife. I love the XO gravity knife, but I don't really find it as useful to carry and things like that. It's not like this would be a good everyday carry. As a matter of fact, I did a video where I talk about I carried this as my primary EDC for like 2 weeks. What knife was that? This is, no, not this. This is the Inversion by Dirk Pinkerton. Dirk sent this to me as a gift for review. He loved the reviews I'd done on a bunch of other knives, and he just sent me one as a gift. This with the ring. So the ring allows you, so the ring is your deployment, so you get your finger in it. It sits in your pocket. You put your finger in it, and when you pull it out, it snaps open. I don't have, let me see, can I do it in these shorts? Let me see if I can show you. So you basically, you put it in this pocket. Let me see if these pockets will catch it. I gotta play with it. In jeans, it's perfect. Just put it in your pocket like this. That's what you see. Reach in your pocket, get your finger in that ring. Snaps open, and you just basically drop it into that grip. See what I'm saying? Great, great, great knife. So, we talked about pretty much the majority of the blade shapes are out there. And I do have to go grab, a knife here in a minute. But then you get into some overlap. So people are like, what about recurves? What about this? Well, this is a recurve. But this is, I guess you could say this is a clip point. But is it any different? Like the back of the knife, same as the other blades, but this has a recurve. That's grind. That's accomplished on this side. Like the blade is still the same overall shape. It's a drop point. It's a drop point recurve. You've accomplished that on your grind. Now the recurves are great. Recurve grinds are great for some things. They really are. This would be a devastating cutter as a self-defense knife. It really would. And there's a reason. It's because in here, that forces, if you make contact here and you start to cut, it forces material up into this big belly. So it sandwiches it in and it just continues to cut. Incredible. Plus, you maximize cutting edge on the blade. So on every knife that has this sweep like this, your actual cutting edge, if you were to straighten it out, is going to be longer than the blade itself. If you add a recurve to it, now you've done this where it comes up, and you have got now even more. So if you were to straighten this out, your actual cutting edge on this knife is probably that long versus the actual length of the blade. So it's a great slash, what is this? Yes, but for hit the blade turn on top. I don't know if you're using Google Translate, but that it doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. But yeah, this one needs cleaned too. This one's gritty. It gets carried a lot. So that's basically what I'm saying about, yeah, no, I'm sorry. It's not, and I got dyslexia, which makes it even harder. I have a shirt that I don't ever wear because my wife told me I'm not allowed. It says, I have sex daily. And it says, damn it, no, I don't. I have dyslexia. I'm just not allowed to wear it. So most of the other things that you're going to see that people talk about are variations of the grinds we already talked about. Now since we talked about it, you guys stay here. I'm not going to try and take you. We'll do it one time and we'll see if the audio is, if you guys lose audio, let me know. I know the solution now. It's easy fix. Well, no, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to go grab a knife and explain to you like a combination of the two. So give me just a second. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. And we're going to talk about another one that is kind of along those lines. And it's out here, and it won't take me very long because I know right where it's at. Uh-oh. Just get ready. All right, I lied. I wasn't back as quickly as I said I was going to be. I apologize. I apologize. But I'm back now, so that's what it is. So I grabbed a couple other knives just because I thought they'd be fun. And I mean, I've got time to put these away before my wife gets home. So we talked about like the modifications knife. So this is a Tanto. I'm gonna warn you guys, if you've never been on a channel, I'm about to show you a $1,000 knife. And I love it. It's amazing. We've talked about it before. This is a Tanto. It's a recurve Tanto. Recurve down, you got the tip, comes up here. This thing is the Grimsmo Norseman, but this is, just like I said, it's still a Tanto. You can see almost no taper till the very tip, really, really strong. It's got a hollow grind here. It's got a flat grind here. You can see it's an Americanized style Tanto. It comes up to a point here. It's recurved in here, which means this thing cuts incredibly well. And I will say, comparatively to this Tanto, which is very straight, this one does not get as much pressure at the very point because it's a recurve. So most of the cutting gets done as you start to cut. It gets done right here in that little belly. It doesn't put a lot of pressure on that tip. And then you've got this nice, robust tip on this with a full convex edge. So this is a hollow, and then this is convex. So you get like the best of both worlds. Can you show us an up close to the bevels? I can. Let's turn this around. Turn it around here. So the bevels on this. So you can see this is a CNC made knife. You can still see the milling pattern on this. And I know it's not great, but it is, comes down to that secondary point. And you got that convex edge on the very front. And then this really nicely done thin hollow on the back. So that's the Grimsmo Norseman. Is it Damascus? No, that's just a milling pattern. So this is RWL34. That is just, John did these knives on a CNC, and when he was doing them, he wanted to, because he's a machinist, he found the aesthetic of those lines, the steps on it. He found it to be aesthetically pleasing. I do as well. I like to see a milling pattern on that. I just said RWL34. But they're just there visually, but not enough to affect cutting. So awesome knife. It's that thing. Like people are like, well, no, that's not a Tanto. That's this. I'm like, no, it really is just a modified Tanto. And then I have to just to throw this out there. If you guys have never dealt with Grimsmo knives, they're probably the best people to deal with. I mean, Fair and Forged Knife Works as well. Incredible to work with if you have problems. I bought this knife on the secondary market. Now, I do know John and Eric, so I don't think that this has any play in it, but I bought this knife on the secondary market, and so far they have still supported me by sending me screws. They've supported me by sending me new bearings, and they've never asked for anything. And they sent me stop pins for a knife that I was working on for a customer when he had blade play, and they sent me stop pins to fix that customer's knife free of charge. Just incredible. The boys over at Fair and Forged Knife Works, I'm really good friends with them. They're awesome as well. They honor their lifetime warranty. If you're the original purchaser, you get that. Same thing. Now they don't do secondary, but I mean, there's some There's some other blade shapes out there. Like, I mean, this is basically an amalgamation of uh, of things. So there's some uniqueness to this. This is the buck. This is the Ferrum Forge buck. And things like that. But zero, okay, so 0 bytes 2000. We were talking, that's what I was saying. We were talking about like recurves and cramps. So, I mean, there's a lot of variations of things. And like a Chris is usually a dagger. So it's still a dagger, but the grind that goes up is just multiple of these. This comes down, and then this comes up, and then it would come back, and it would just continue like a river or a snake, an undulating snake. It would be, you know, really, really similar. You just, this is just only one of them instead of having multiple. But it's on a dagger. I mean, you have all these that happen. You have like when Olamic, they made their Vampy blades. So they were like a short Warren. This is Olamic. This is a great, great knife, by the way. It's the Olamic 247 Sheep's Cliff. But basically what they did was they made a sheep's foot blade that was shorter, is broader, and at the very tip they ground out a little area that was like hooked, and it was called their Vampy blade. And it was just, all it was a short, wide sheep's foot with like a hook at the end. The leaf blade shape is on the Spyderco's. No, it's not true. That's a drop point. I don't have any Spyderco's with what you're describing. Like, this is a drop point. It's a modified drop. It's got a very distinct drop to it. But that's a drop point. This is a leaf-shaped blade. This is a Vosti. That's a leaf-shaped blade. Because it looks like a leaf. See what I'm saying? Looks like a leaf. So it's a little bit different. So yeah, I like having plants. We all like having plants. We got hanging plants. There's plants in my daughter's room, all that stuff. That leaf shape, the top still doesn't make sense to me. Let me show you. Because what you get is a lot of belly. You don't need a lot of tip. Now I've got a snap cut. I've got it locked in, and it's like pointing my finger. I know exactly where that is. A lot of them were on butterfly knives that were used in the Philippines as fighting knives. So when you put your finger on that spine, it's just like reaching out and touching something. It gives you a tactile feel. You know where it's at. It's no different than me. Took martial arts for years. I was in the military. I like a knife that has weight forward of the hilt. Same kind of thing. I know exactly, that's one of the things I like about this knife. It's a little tip heavy. This knife, because it has weight forward, I know exactly where the tip of that knife is for what I would want in a fighting or self-defense thing. I don't have to look down to see if I'm aligned. It takes any thought out of it. I know this. The only reason I know this, I did not take Filipino martial arts. I didn't take Eskrama or any of those ones. I have a friend that's an instructor. It teaches Filipino stick fighting and things like that. But they also know, no, I don't do butterfly knife tricks. I never found that enticing, George. But he specifically told me, he's like, when you get up on that knife, he's like, you know exactly where that's at, right? You know where that's at, and you can direct it with your finger, and it's like pointing. And he goes, that's Filipino martial arts when they fight with knives. That's one of the things they do. And I was like, makes a lot of sense why a leaf-style blade was popular. See what I'm saying? So what was my favorite military carry knife? It's not out here. So I was issued, we all know K-bar. I was issued a K-bar. Didn't like it. I had an SRK that was issued. The SRK, Cold Steel SRK was really good. I actually bought knives for myself for carry, and I have to tell you a little bit of a longer story since we're talking about that, Elijah. I had a Randall, Randall Model 1. I had a Randall Model 1. It was in whatever the tool steel is that they use. And I had a lot of problems with rust. I was in Kuwait, and I was in a deep water port at Kuwait. It was really, really humid, and I sweat. And I mean, you're talking, it's like 100. It's like 100 and something degrees every day. Like it's always above 100. Sometimes it's like 125, 130, you know, with the humidity index and everything. At any rate, it started rusting. I had some problems with it. Long story short, they had an aluminum butt cap that was screwed directly to the steel. If you know anything about that, that's going to cause something that's called galvanic corrosion or electrolysis corrosion, where they're sharing ions and then they corrode. And basically that knife was falling apart. Nothing I did was stacked leather washer handles, and so it was getting all that moisture in it. Okay. So I had that, and then I traded for one of these, which was almost identical. I didn't know what I had. I didn't know what, at the time, this was 20 years ago. 20 plus years ago, right? I didn't know what I had. One of the other guys that was there was like, hey man, if you like that knife, I've got one of these. This is the R1 Military Classic done by Cold Steel. He's like, it's the same knife. I'll trade you, it won't rust. I've got other knives that I'll carry. He traded me, even Steven, for this knife. I did not know that he gave me a $200 knife and got an $800 knife. I didn't know because I was given the Randall by somebody that transferred and had left. At any rate, so I carried one of these for a very long time, and then it got stolen. I'm pretty sure it got stolen, or I gave it to someone because I was transferring. At any rate, carried this for a long time. And then Michael R., one of the followers of the channel, sent me this as a birthday present because I was talking about how much I like the R1 and how much I missed having one. And he sent me one, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my prized possessions. This was probably the best duty carry knife I had. I also carried a stag-handled Bowie made by Puma, and I didn't bring it out here because I believe it's at my friend's house. I carried one of those as well for a while. I liked it a lot. This was absolutely better. But I designed a knife. I should have grabbed that. I'll go grab it before we go. I designed a knife to meet my purposes. After I retired, I designed a knife and I built it and I tested it. I sent it to my friends that are SEALs. I had them carry prototypes of it. When they told me that, you know, hey, I wouldn't change anything. That's when I reached out to a company to get a production version of it done. As far as where can you find that knife? The R1 Military Classic. The R1 Military Classic, you're probably going to be able to find it on R1 Military Classic. I do know where there's one. There's one on Arizona Custom Knives. Now you're going to pay a lot more for that knife than you would have if you had gotten it when they were still available at Cold Steel. Now, as far as my everyday carry, like right now, because I got some cool stuff in that I'm carrying, like I'm not lying. I've wanted one of these since high school. I got this. I've been carrying this around a lot. It's my Taipan. I mean, technically I shouldn't carry it, but no one said anything. Nobody's really going to. No one in my area is going to say anything. You can carry a fixed blade in San Diego, by the way. I carry this a lot. But as far as like an everyday carry fixed blade right now, even though I've designed several everyday carry fixed blades, right? This is hands down the best everyday carry fixed blade I have right now. This is the Lon Humphrey Custom Tucson. I don't know what's going on with Wi-Fi and stuff right now, and I don't have signal enough to do this. So we'll do this as long as we can. Is the connection kind of grainy looking? Because I don't know what's going on. Actually, you know what? I may know what's going on, but I'm not going to take care of it because I think it might be my VPN that's doing it. Because it bounces me. I've got it set for random, so it may be when it bounces me from site to site across country. Because I don't need another stalker. We had one. That's a story for another day. This thing came to me. It's amazing. You can see it gets carried so much that I've deformed the belt loop on it to where it just sits. It is amazing how good this is. AEBL, beautiful handles on this. This is my sunset knife because it looks like a sunset. Blue liners on this. These are custom and handmade. They're not that expensive. If you want to get one of these, absolutely. Lon Humphrey is literally making knives like 10 miles down the road from my childhood home. I've talked to him a bunch of times. He's a great dude. He sells his knives. The only place you're going to find them other than his website is Knives Ship Free. And you can get these on there. I have a link to Knives Ship Free down below. As a matter of fact, I have a ton of affiliate links down below. If you guys are looking for knives, please use my affiliate links. It supports the channel. It doesn't cost you anything to check out. There's a ton of them down there. Blade HQ, all those. But at any rate, I have a affiliate link with Knives Ship Free down below. You can get one of these, and these things are probably the best bang for the buck. Hands down, best bang for the buck custom knife you're going to get. These things are about anywhere between $250 and $350, depending on handle material and things like that. These things are under $400. They are custom knives. He makes these by hand in his shop. It's forge heat treat. Well, no, I mean, I'm sorry, he has a heat treat oven, but it's custom made. It is custom ground. He makes the handles. He pins it. He does all the work on that, and then he does his own heat treat. It's all done in shop. It's all done by one guy, and they are amazing. The only thing he doesn't do is the sheath, and it comes with a really, really good sheath. This fucking great sheath on this. It carries nice and light. It is an outdoor stuff. This is what I would have carried on the farm. You can use it for just about anything. Good for bushcraft. If you're curious about seeing it in use, because I don't do, okay. On this channel, I don't film a lot of testing. And people are like, why? I was like, I hate watching testing videos. And they're like, so? But you're making videos. To edit those videos, I have to watch myself do the testing videos. And I don't like testing videos. Unless every once in a while I smoke a bowl, you know, get into the jazz cabbage, and I'll watch the old school Cold Steel DVDs. But I sent this over to Scab at Choir Boys Cutlery, and he put it through its paces. And if you want to see a testing video of this exact knife, the one that's in my hand, it's over on Scab's channel. And he was stabbing into the tires, cutting out the sidewalls. And he was like, bro, he's like, he's like, I'll go easy. And I was like, I don't think you need to go easy on it, brother. I was like, you can just beat the shit out of it. And he did. Got it back to me. First, the only thing I had to do was sharpen it. Just a beautiful, and this is the best heat treat I've ever had on AEBL. I've been public about the fact I don't like AEBL. Very public about the fact I don't like AEBL. I got news for you. I love this one. So, Knives Ship Free. There's a link down below to Knives Ship Free where you can find this exact knife. Every once in a while, I see a comment pop up, and you guys know that I'm like, I'm not reading that. I wanted to show you guys a variation of the Dagger, and I forgot. And I think, yeah, it's right here. So this is a variation of the Dagger. And this is a really cool one. So this is a Dagger. It's a variation of the Dagger grind, or Dagger blade, I should say. It's a switchblade. It's fun. This is basically two Tantos put back to back. It's two of these welded together right at the point, which I have to say makes this that big, this one, the Cold Steel Taipan, really, really robust in the tip because of the way it was designed with that leaf style. There's more material behind it. It's hollow grind, so it does cut. This, probably the most robust you're going to find on a Tanto, or I mean on a Dagger, because it has the same strength as of a Tanto. So it's basically just two Tanto blades welded together at one point. This is the UTX 85 by Microtech in their Spartan blade. This is the 25th anniversary. This was a Blade Show West special. See what I'm saying? It's basically two of these. This is the Ultratech full size. Can you see? So these are the same knife, but you have the Ultratech, which is the full size. You have the UTX 85, which is 85% of the size, and I find, just so you guys can see, this is, I find the UTX 85, if I was going to buy another Ultratech, it would be another UTX 85. I don't like switchblades. I find them fun. This one needs cleaned really badly. It's getting stiff. I find these to be not as useful as other knives, but they are fun. And I think that this is the perfect size format for the UTX, or for the Ultratech. The UTX 85 is just about the perfect size. It's not too small like the UTX 70, which is 70%, 5% smaller. I find that to be a little too small. This is still really, really a full 4-finger grip, easy to deploy, and, you know, easy to carry. It doesn't have the sharp point on it like the old ones you guys want to talk about. As I've gotten older, I've developed what we like to call a spare tire. That's uncomfortable as I've gotten older. I'm glad that they got away from that and they used the round carbide ball glass breaker on these now. So how would you make a porta-band bandsaw table? I don't know. I never used a bandsaw. Everything I did was with an angle grinder. When I would make knives, they were all done with an angle grinder. They were all done, cut out the raw shape on an angle grinder, and then do all the grinds on a 2x72 variable speed grinder. And all my grinds were done. So the rough shaping was done. What I would do is I'd cut the blank out with an angle grinder, and then I would do all my surface flattening, because 20 CV at 64, 65 Rockwell is, you want to get as much of your surface grinding done as you can. It's going to set you up for success. And then I would put that blank that I had done all the cutout and flattening, I would heat treat it, and then that's when I would do all my grinding. For a couple reasons. Preheat treat grinds, when you're doing something like 20 CV, we're taking something to like 2,200 degrees. If you've done a bunch of removal, even if you're doing it like 120 grit, that's a lot of scratch pattern. It's a lot of areas that can be stress relief areas, and taking something from 2,200 degrees and putting it between two aluminum plates and taking it, basically plate quenching it to almost room temperature like that. It's a lot of stress in that. And if you've got those preheat treat grinds, a lot more chance of cracking, a lot more chance of warping. I only ever did a couple where I did preheat treat grinds other than just the blade blank and the surface grind. Everything was done after. So I never used a bandsaw. So, yeah, it just wasn't something, it wasn't even a tool that was in the shop. So, did use a milling machine and things like that. So I really don't know how I would have done it. So, but I don't make knives anymore, which is sad because I enjoyed it. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all of your, with some exceptions. I'm sure that there's a couple out there, like weird ones that are like really distinct to certain cultures of blade shapes. But basically, they're all kind of just reiterations of the same thing. Then with different grinds. Like I said, you can have a Tanto that's a recurve. You can have a drop point that's a recurve. You can have a clip point, because I've seen a lot of recurve clip point buoys at knife shows. So then you got like, I'm not a fan of serrations, but you can go as far as like doing serrations on the edge. It doesn't change the blade shape. Neither does your blade grind. So absolutely love this knife. So much pocket time on this. So much pocket time. So, so now if that guy is still here, who made the sheath for the cold steel? Well, this, okay, so this sheath is one of the old school Japan sheaths for a taipan. I have a friend that, I have a guy that's, not a friend, I have a guy that I asked to make a sheath for this, and when it gets here, I'm gonna send this back to my friend. This is just on loan, so I can actually carry it. This sheath that I'm having made is done by a guy named Harry Savage. When it gets here, I'll do a review of it if it's a really good one. If it's as good as it looks in the pictures, I'm gonna definitely do a review of it, and I'll point you guys this direction if you need a sheath. But this sheath is the original cold steel sheath for the R1. Cold steel would have their sheaths made in Japan. If the knife was made in Japan, the sheath was made in Japan. This thing's great. This is the original sheath for this knife. But I'm having one made for the cold steel taipan, for that dagger. So, now, there was a guy in here who was asking about companies, and he was talking about Stanley, and Buck is a good company. I'm going to tell you a handful of companies that I would look at, you know, for budget knives. Tucson knives. Tucson knives quality is really good. Problem is their knives are hit or miss whether you can get them. You can't always get them in the same steel every time. This is Tucson. This is the TS301. It's done carbon fiber and micarta handles. They did such a good job on marrying these two pieces of material together. You can't even feel where they meet. It's one piece, even though it's two different materials. 14C28N blade on this. Great, great knife. It has some minor problems. I'm not a fan of how the pocket clip is in here. I might modify that and mill out a little slot, and then that way the pocket clip can sit a little bit deeper. I may do that on my own. Not sure. Because it's just surface mounted, and sometimes the pocket clip will wiggle. Another company to look at is Miguron. Miguron, I think. I can't remember. Miguron. This is the best bang for your buck budget knife on the market. This is the Miguron Knives Valona. I think Migeuron. I can't remember. It's like a $50 knife. Hits way above its weight class. This is a great, great knife. It is probably one of the. This is like greatest of all time budget knife. Under $100. They do them in really good steel now. They're 14C28N. This was in DC53, which is a great steel. I shouldn't say they do it. It's great steel now. They still do. Miguron Knives makes great knives. I have a few of them. I have a couple of them here. I've done a couple as giveaways. This is the... I can't think of the model number on this one. This is another one of the Miguron knives. They are great knives. I can't think of the name of this. This is another one in 14C28N, micarta. It's got a crossbar lock. Just a great, great knife. Nice blade shape on this. Great, great knife. They're a great company if you're looking for budget knives. Vosteed is right now like the champ for me when it comes to like the volume of budget knives they have, because Miguron puts out a lot of knives in varying price points. Vosteed puts out some more expensive knives, but Vosteed has a ton of budget knives that like these under $100. This is a little button lock called the Corgi Pup. It's not an A though. Yeah, I think it's an E, and there's a U in there. Migeuro. I can't remember. Vosteed, this is the Corgi Pup. I have what they call the Trek lock, which is basically a center located button lock. So you've got back flipper, front flipper, button. I know, Steven, I know. I'm laughing. I can't, why can't I think how to spell it? It's like, God, my shoulder hurts so bad, guys. This is why I don't make knives. This is why I'm not sharpening knives. So This is a great little knife. This is a great little knife. I love this thing. Guys, I gotta go take an ibuprofen. So that's their great knife. Another company that you might want to look at is CJRB. Does it feel weird when I walk away, but the audio doesn't change? I'm just curious how it is for you guys. I think it would be weird for me to see somebody walk completely out of frame, but the audio doesn't change. I love these new microphones. So, yeah, Vosteed, great company. They've been great to deal with. All the Vosteed knives I have here, they sent to me. This is the Vosteed knives Acorn. This is the Vosteed knives Acorn. Really good knife. I've probably got, I think I got like 6 of their knives that are here right now that they sent me. I'm doing a couple of them as giveaways. So Jared sent me a bunch of them. This is a great little knife. I really love this knife. I don't carry it as much as I should. I can't remember if I did the final review on this, so I should probably get this back out and carry it and do a final review on it. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically, I think that's all of the blade shapes that I really wanted to hit on, because that's kind of all of them. We could talk about some other stuff, but I mean, this is still a drop point. There's ways that blades can be modified and still stay within that. This is a great knife, by the way, as well, if you want to check one of these out. This is the Max Ace Meerkat. And this is just an incredible little knife that I had to make myself stop carrying, because it's just amazing how good this knife is. It's got some uniqueness to it, the way the lock is installed and things like that. Absolutely love this. It's nuts. Hey guys, hang on a second. I have to go grab my other device. My daughter just texted me. I want to read what she said. So, but no, there's a lot of stuff, and I'm going to grab the knife that I designed as what I would carry. So somebody was asking about my combat knives. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, we were talking about my knife designs. Oh, geez. Or knives, combat, like duty knives. And so I was like, I was telling you guys that I didn't like a lot of the, hang on a second, I'm checking here. Oh, no, okay, so she's just telling me that her and her friend are going somewhere else. My daughter took off. She's visiting one of her friends that leaves. She starts college in like 20 days. This friend of hers leaves, I think, this coming week, to go to college out of state. So she's just trying to say goodbye to all her friends because she's staying local. We talked about the combat knives and duty knives, and I carried a lot of different knives in my military. I'm retired. I spent my entire adult life in the military. I was stationed overseas for all of it, but the last 4 years. I spent a lot of time in and out of combat areas. At any rate, I never really liked a lot of the combat knives that we had. We've talked about this. Now, this knife is probably still available. Just so you know, I don't get any more royalties. If you like the knife, you buy it. I don't make any more money on this. They already paid me out all my royalties for the entire run of knives. We Knife Company is incredible to work with like that. So, like I said, we always wound up, the problem with a lot of the combat knives that you get is just the overall size. Like, this was an issue item. They're just too big. They're unwieldy. Even the one I liked that I carried so much, this one, the R1 Military Classic. Like this, it still can feel unwieldy. It's a little bit long from here to here. It limits you, not as much on this one, but on a lot of the others, it limits you on what you can really do with it. So what happens is you wind up carrying multiple things and you're adding weight. I didn't like the idea of carrying pocket knife, all my other gear, fixed blade knife, and I was like, I got out and I'm like, I started making knives. I made friends with knife makers. I was like, I want to make the knife for me that I would have wanted. And I came up with this design. So if you haven't ever seen it, it's the Stonefish. We Knife Company did a really good job. It's not as big, it's not as unwieldy, still has all the things you would want in a combat knife. A real good finger guard, thumb ramp, double thumb ramp, really good jimping. You've got the jimping on the back, redacted tang, but here on the very end, you've got a striking pommel where there's exposed steel if you need to break a window or a skull. You know, who this, and you can do smaller things around the camp that you don't need a second knife for, because it's not, blade wise, really not that much different. Where the fuck did I put it? How does a knife come up missing when I'm literally just sitting here? At any rate, blade length is not that much different than like a large 9.5-inch folder. So, no, literally, where did it go? I just had it. I swear to God, I just had it. Am I sitting on it? Nope, there it is. This is the one I was going to show you. There you go. Almost 1 for 1. Almost 1 for 1 on this. It's a fixed blade. It's done. And then people are like, yeah, but it doesn't have a lanyard hole. That's why I use 3 pins. That one you don't need. It's not going to lose the stability. It's not like your handle's going to fall off. Take that one out, run a lanyard through it. Because it's pass-through hardware. Titanium, so it's not going to rust. This thing is great. I'm really happy with the design. When I was making custom ones, I would make a couple of them. I would do minor changes, minor variations, and I had friends that were SEALs. And I would give them to them for them to carry, and they got a free knife, and I got feedback from somebody that's going to use that knife as designed. Because I was already retired when I did this. When they told me, like I said, when they told me that, hey, I wouldn't change anything. Here you go. Gotcha. And the thing is, now all of us that were involved in all of this, well, they're retired now too. So there's a handful of these floating around out there still that are available. These are done in 20 CV, flat grind on it. These things are, this is my personal one. My personal one. Scab did a test on this as well over at Quiet Boys Cutlery. So if you're interested in seeing a test video about this, it's there. But like I said, don't have to worry about me like enticing you to buy them, because I already got paid everything I'm ever going to get paid on that run of knives. They only did 1 run and they paid me out for the whole one. I don't like a lot of the Ken Onion designs. And I've met Ken. He's a good dude. It has nothing to do with him. They're not a design I like. I had the blur. It wasn't bad. But like over the years, I just haven't seen Ken Onion designs that I like. You know what I mean? You know what I do like? Folding tomahawk. I just reverse flicked a hatchet. These things are great. KATSU Knives is great. I have a discount code with KATSU Knives, guys. If you're interested in like some of the KATSU knives I showed, like this is an $80 knife that's absolutely incredible. They have varying prices on their knives. This is like $300. This is another KATSU. Crazy Sharp, all one word. That works at Rosecraft Blades, KATSU Knives, and Ferrum Forge Knife Works. But if you're interested in something like this, or this knife that I showed earlier that's really incredible, I love this. I would take this over Rockstead, to be honest, not just because they sent it to me and not just because they're making my folding knife, but because even before we even went into discussions of that, I had one of these, and I'm like, yeah, I would take this over Rockstead. So great, great company. They do really, really good work. KATSU Knives. So if you want to get with them, they're releasing my first folding knife design. Am I a knife maker? Yes, I was a knife maker for a while. I was making a bunch of different knives. Well, actually, I made a handful of different knives. And I was doing custom knife. Like people were ordering knives from me, and I was doing them. I just can't anymore. My shoulder is too bad. I have so much nerve damage down this nerve trunk all the way down my arm. It just hurts constantly. And if I stand in front of a grinder, it's if I stand in front of a grinder for a day, I'm down for like a week. Same with sharpening. So I've been so Zero Bites 2000. I've been eyeing Katsu. They look great. Their knives are great. They do really good work. They're in that price point where they're kind of in the middle. So they have knives that aren't as pricey. They got some really unique stuff too, like this one. This is the JT03 Mars carbon fiber, and this is kind of a variation of it. No, I still use my grinder. I still do small things. Like I have a couple knives that I'm gonna Scotch Brite some sharp spots off of, and I still use my grinder for things. But you're not getting my grinder. Plus, it would cost you more than it's worth to have me send it to you. This is a knife that they make, and it's got a very unique blade shape to it. But I mean, really, when you look at it, is it that unique? It's not. It's kind of a modified Wharncliffe almost, or clipped. This is one that kind of falls into that category of like, yeah, I'm not really sure what to call that one, but it's kind of a kitsune style blade. Kitsune, I can't remember. It's the one. It's the one that I can't remember the name of that blade shape. It's the one, the same thing as like that clip point, or the reverse Tanto that Benchmade likes to call. I can't ever remember it. Kitsune. I can't remember if Kitsune or Kitsune. I can't remember. But yeah, this is a great knife that Katsu makes. They sent me this one, and I dig it. I really, really dig it. It's got a lot of practical uses on this. Even as a longer knife, it doesn't feel out of balance. I was going to tell you guys that. So, like, knives that I gravitate to these days, I've started getting into some smaller knives, and I'll explain why. I do still have bigger knives. But when you start getting into like an 8-inch knife, when you hit 8.5, 9.5 inches on a knife, you can run into a sort of out of sorts feeling on a knife. And I have some of them. I have some that feel like that. I'm gonna tell you right now, Rick's heat treat is fucked up. Rick is a bitch because he decided to sue someone that called him out on his heat treat. He sued a friend of mine. I will never have another Hinderer knife on the channel. I used to like them. I don't find them to be as useful. I don't think that they hold up as well as they like to claim. They've given up a lot, and they're not doing the tough knife. They're just doing like weak knives. Their locks aren't great. They fail a lot, and I just have lost a lot of respect for Rick. Period. There's some companies out there that are doing knives that will do you as well as a Hinderer. They'll probably cut better. They'll hold up as well, and I would look into them. I will tell you that if I was going to go for an American company to buy a knife that I knew I could rely on and it wasn't going to break the bank, I would go to Hogue. Hogue is going to provide you with a knife that is a design that's comparable to a Benchmade at a quarter of the price, because Benchmade is fucking you. Microtech has actually started to drop prices on some of their stuff. This is a 300, I think it went up to 320, but these were $302 when I bought this. Just for comparison, and I know this is a switchblade, so people are going to say, holy shit, 32 months. Hey, guess what? My Warrentac, I sent it off to somebody else to review. It came back. Went to the beach with my kid. I'd had it back 2 days. Put it in my pocket, went to the beach, came back and realized I did not have my knife in my pocket. So somebody at the beach has got one of your knives. So So when I bought this knife, this was $450. And everybody's like, oh, it's because it's an OTF switchblade. But at the same time I bought this, I bought a folder. I bought the DOC and I bought the whale shark. I kept the DOC, got rid of the whale shark, but those were also around the $450 mark. And so that means since 2015 till now, they've managed to maintain their quality, they have put better materials, the craftsmanship is better, and it's $150 less than my first Benchmade folder. Where can you find Microtech folders? You can use my GP Knives link down below. You can use my Blade HQ link down below, or Knives Ship Free down below. Those are the three I would recommend. Those are my preferred vendors. I have affiliate links with them down below. I know that this is available. This exact knife, the Microtech Amphibian, is available on Blade HQ. If you're going to buy it, if you're going to go look, if you're going to do anything, please use my links down below. Supports the channel, especially now that I've been laid off. So Michael R., we were talking about this one. This is the one that Michael R. sent me. I'll tell you 100% why Tony can sell the Amphibian custom for $6K. I'll tell you why. One, it's 100% handmade. Absolutely 100% handmade. Everything, there's like everything on it is hand done. The polishing process on those super highly polished blades that Tony does takes about 80 hours. I'm just telling you. The mirror polishing that he does on those, the hand mirror polishing that you're not going to get. Like other people do mirror polish. The mirror polish that Tony Marfion does on those knives, it's not the same. Like it is liquid. It looks like liquid. It takes anywhere between 40 and 60 hours just for that part of it. Just that. So figure the hand grinding, the hand fitting, all that stuff. And when Tony's doing that, can't be any other work. This is the other one. When he's doing that, there can't be any other work. When he's doing that polishing, there can't be any other work going on in the shop. Right? He has to clean the entire shop, and there can't be anything else that's being ground or done that would put abrasive or metal dust in the air, because it would fuck the entire polishing process. So are there ways to cost save on that and cut back? Probably. But really knowing Tony and knowing the meticulousness of him, that means that when he does that, that is like an entire work week where nothing else is getting made in the shop. Is he doing multiple at a time? Probably. But still, that batch of whatever he's doing represents a full 40-hour work week where no other knives are getting made. You can't have the dust production going, even in a separate area. He can't have any of that going on. It's got to be completely sterile to do that mirror polish. So there's a lot going. I mean, when I would polish stuff, even to get close to a mirror, there can't be any other grinding going on in the dirty room. You got to clean everything up. You've got to clean the wheels. You've got to cover like all that stuff. You've got to take the time to clean. Make sure that you cleaned your like if you're using an abrasive paste or a stick. Well, that's why those polished Rocksteads cost so much. So you're a chromium oxide or whatever you're using as a buffing compound. You got to take that stuff off. You got to take it out there. You got to clean that up. You got to use the comb, clean the wheel, make sure everything is clean, even if you had the wheels covered. Then you got to take and you got to clean off the end of that buffing compound, right? You got to wash it, make sure there's no dust on it. You got to do all that stuff before you even start polishing. Yeah, and I mean, even with all those other things, there just can't be, like, there can't be other stuff going on. You just can't. Like, no matter how hard you try, you're always going to get grit contamination stuff if there's work going on in the same area. So, I mean, I imagine that he's now got a separate facility for the polishing since the last time I talked to him about it. But back then, like that's what it took. You know what I mean? So, um, sorry, she texted me again. Okay. Well, like I said, just let me know when you leave. And if you're going to go to the beach, make sure that you don't leave the windows down in the parking lot like you did the other time. I don't need I don't need stuff stolen out of my car. Luckily, so my daughter drove to the beach and she came back. She goes, "Dad, I left the windows down." And I was like, "Nobody took anything out of the car?" She's like, "No, but I left the windows down." She's like, "I didn't even realize it." I was like, fuck. Luckily, where she parked was close to the little cop station that they had put up on the hall. It was over the. She went on Labor Day, so there was cops everywhere. So she parked like right next to where the police were staged and had their tent and their booth and stuff. So that's the only reason. It's the only reason, because even as nice as San Diego is, you go to the beach and there's just homeless people walking around the parking lot just looking at cars, looking for a way to get in and steal something. I went to her campus yesterday. This is off the topic. I went to her campus yesterday. I walked around with her a lot because we had to do a waiver for her health care because she falls under my insurance and stuff like that. We walked around as a matter of fact, she just came back. We walked around the campus and I definitely felt more at ease with her going to school there, because like constant cops patrolling, constant things like that. She has returned. So, huh? They said you could park in the front? Oh, okay. So they're doing some minor construction out front. It's where her campus is. It's great. I walked around the campus with her all day. I got a much more warm and fuzzy about where she's going to school, and not feeling apprehensive about her leaving to go to school, and things like that. So she and I here in a little bit are going to go to the Air Force recruiter and talk to them about officer programs and stuff, if she wants to. But we're going to stay here for a little bit longer. So I know we were talking about companies, budget companies. Oh, Kaiser. Kaiser's another really good budget company. For the guy that was asking about knives, Kaiser does great work. This is probably my favorite Kaiser. This one, and there's one more, the Mini Roach. But this is the Beglighter XL. This is just a great, great knife. Sort of difficult question, sort of broad. Do you have a favorite steel or a couple favorite steels, like VG10 for stainless and D2 for carbon? D2 is not technically a carbon steel. D2 is a tool steel. It's kind of in that. D2 is kind of in that in between zone between carbon steel and in between stainless steel and carbon steel. It's technically, I think D2 qualifies as a stainless, but it's on the lower range of stainless. And then you get further up into the spectrum of stainless where you have things that are great. I love 14C28N. 14C28N is an affordable steel. It's a really, really good rust resistant outdoor style steel. It's probably one of my all around favorites. If I had to pick a favorite, I'd say S90V if the heat treat's done well. Then you get, if I was to pick a carbon steel, 1095. 1095 carbon steel is really good. It's a great, great steel. There's some other carbon steels that are out there. 1095, I've made some knives in it. It's really easy to work with. It's fairly easy to heat treat. You do have to oil quench it, which can make it a little bit more problematic, but it does a really good job. You can do a lot of different stuff. 20 CV is another really good steel. D2 is not bad. I would tell you, if I'm going to pick something that is going to be, if I was going to pick a steel that's going to be more prone to rust, I'd have to say Crewware. Crewware is another one that's on that just on that verge of stainless. It's like at the lower spectrum. It will patina, it will rust. You got to kind of be careful with it. But the crew wear is great. I love crew wear. As a matter of fact, this is in crew wear. This is amazing. This is the Lamia by Alex Steingraber. This is probably the best cutting knife I've ever had come in. It's so good. They are expensive. It's another one-man show. He makes every part of this knife by himself in his shop. Alex does great work. They're expensive. They're more expensive on the secondary. If you can afford to pick one up, these things are great. They're not the most attractive looking knife, I will admit. They're pretty plain Jane, but talk about just an all around great. I like Elmax. That's another steel I really like. Elmax is really good. Really rust resistant. If it's heat treated well and it's ground well, it's going to be, it's going to hold up great. M390 204P 20 CV. Those are all variants of that same steel, of the same steel. This is an Elmax. I love Elmax. Elmax really rust resistant, and it takes a nightmare edge. This is stupid sharp. This came from the factory, like ridiculous sharp. Elmax is a great option. It's really resilient too. There was some custom knife makers who were making knives in Elmax that just were insane. So I just like, there's so many good steels out there that kind of get overlooked. I'm sorry, N690. N690. Incredible steel. It's a great steel. I love it. I've got a few knives. Well, I'm sorry, now I only have two. This is an N690. Ferrum Forge NTAC. N690 steel. Takes a really good edge if it's heat treated really well. This is N690. This is N690 CO. You also have some other variants of it, like analogs for it that are available. This is N690 Cobalt, N690 CO. It's a great steel. I love it. It takes a different edge. You get a different edge when you change. You get some different features when you change even a couple small things in the alloy. So they added cobalt to this one, and it gives it a completely different edge. You live in the high desert. Are you up near Palm Springs? Or are you up near Hesperia, Apple Valley area? Just out of curiosity. I'm in San Diego. I'm going to tell you right now, it's 76% humidity today, so it's pretty hot. It's pretty sticky. What's the... Never mind. It's currently 88 degrees, but it's about 75% humidity, which is weird. San Diego, we get hot spells. We used to get these hot, like, we always get these. We'll get the Santa Anas where we'll get the heat wave that comes through, and it lasts like between 3 days and a week. It does still cool down at night, but typically when we have the hot spells, it's really dry. When we have these heat waves, it's usually really dry. This week, it's been really humid and in the high 80s, low 90s. I don't like it. It's very sticky. It's very unpleasant. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, you'll come here. Oh, you'll come here. What are you doing? What are you doing, big boy? Hi. Hi. Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. Nosies. It's my best buddy. This is my bestest buddy right here. So we're probably going to end this. We've been doing this for just about almost 2 hours. I'm probably going to... Oh, my God, you're such a monster. We're probably going to end this. I need to get this... Oh, you want me to rub your belly? Hi. Probably going to end this. It's been about 114 minutes, just coming up on 2 hours. I want to get this mess all cleaned up. And like I said, I'm going to spend some time with my daughter. You're gonna notice some changes in like content up. Yeah, he's my house lion. Some of the upload schedule may change. I'm trying to spend some time with my daughter. I've got a bunch of stuff scheduled, stuff done. that's ready to just upload, I should say. I have a couple videos still need edited, but my daughter starts college in 20 days, which means like when she was in high school, she had more time. And stop licking that. When she's in high school, we had all the time. Like it wasn't as complicated. Now she's working part time. Um, she's doing college. She's still skating, and she's getting ready to start college. It's gonna be. I just want to spend some time with my kid. I fucking hate. I should. Does anybody know? Is there anything you can buy that will reduce the visibility of scars? Like, yeah, there you go. Hop up. Cause oh, he's getting these toys. You should check this out. Ah. So yeah, it's you're gonna see like there was supposed to be a video that went up today. If I can get it done later, there may still be. There's a good chance that your next like pre-recorded video is gonna be Sunday. Today's Friday. Yeah, Sunday. I'd appreciate it if you guys just watch it. If you haven't dropped a subscription, drop a subscription. If you want to support the channel, like I said, the best way is the affiliate links down below if you're gonna buy stuff. I have an Amazon store. Just take that and use it for everything. But I wanted to do this coffee brand coffee. I know the owner of the company can be divisive on his YouTube channel, but the company has no ties to anything politically. No. Oh, what are you trying to do? Come on, come over. Come over. Come here. Come over here. Come here. Come here. But they have some of the best. They have some of the best coffee you're gonna get. It's custom, so it's roasted on demand. They got a money back guarantee. They were a sponsor of the channel. They still support me with a partnership. I have a link down below. You can save 10% if you use the link. Come on, bud. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Over here. Come over here. Come on. Come here. Now you're just being stubborn. So yeah, you can follow. You can hang out with that. I would say make sure at checkout you're careful when you use the Coffee Brand Coffee link down below. It saves you 10%, but it's automatically going to sign you up for a subscription. You can just delivery one time. Not saying that you shouldn't get a subscription if you find something you like, but I only get the initial royalty for the sale. But the other thing is they have so many coffees that you might want to try some others, and then you're locked in and you got to cancel that subscription. You might get coffee you don't want. So just keep in mind that it's automatically going to try and do the subscription. You will save a little bit of money on that, but you're already saving 10% with my link. So if you're interested in it, they have something called the Roaster's Choice, and this is what I want to talk about. Hang on, I'm going to grab it. Their Roaster's Choice is a select blend of coffee from a specific place every month. And it is 100%. You have to have a subscription. I'll show you a couple. But I just, not really, this isn't like an ad or anything. I really like to shout this out because it's a US owned company, non-political. You don't have to worry about it support. Like if you don't like Trump, don't worry. If you don't like Harris, don't worry. None of the money goes to any of that. It's 100% unbiased. This is their Roaster's Choice. So this one is from Peru. This is really good, but they also have like flavored coffees, amazing flavored coffee. This is their blackberry cream, and I love it. It's so good. Okay. Yeah, you come on, bud. Come on. That's not gonna hurt you. Come on, you can come over here. Come on, Chucky, come here. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there in case you guys want to support the channel that way, because you know. We all love coffee. He's behind me with a toy. Stop! I got a microphone there. Hey, bud. Say hi. Say hi. Say hi to everybody. Say hi to everybody. So, you're a big boy. So, yeah, I'm going to end this. Hi, I know. I love you too. I'm going to end this. And we can probably hang out. I'll see what's going on Saturday. I think my daughter's busy Saturday, so I'll probably do one of these again tomorrow. And it'll be just like, hey, let's just generally talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Look at the size of his head. You see this? He's a monster. The vet said he's the biggest golden retriever he's ever seen. He's like 99 like depending on like how much he's eaten, anywhere between 97 and 105. Hi. Hi. He's like Brandon. Yeah, he's gonna want to play tug of war. All right, guys, before he knocks everything over with this ball bat of a tail of his, we're gonna end this. I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out. It's been a lot of fun. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. There'll be videos going up. I'm gonna have a video ready for. I have a video ready for Sunday. I forget which one I said. You know what? We'll do this one. I have a video for this one. We'll just try and upload a new video. As opposed to, I'll see if maybe there's just something wrong with the video I was trying to upload today. I just didn't want to play with it anymore. I did a video about this. It's a grail knife I've wanted since high school, so we'll talk about that. Guys, it's been 2 hours. I don't like running these more than 2 hours. I start like grasping at straws to find things to talk about. So I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe to the channel, follow the affiliate links, check out the coffee stuff, and if you want to join the membership, please do so. You can always drop super chats in other videos like super thanks. I will see you guys later. Take it easy.